Welcome back, Zabol. We missed you. Okay, what did we get up to?
I missed me too.
Good.
And you had to make him sweat for the 100K. You couldn't give it to him so he could come to Shia a few more times.
I told him you have to have a commitment. You have to be on the Shia. Otherwise, tonight couldn't know myself. Thank you, Ramon. By the way, thank you. I wanted to be anonymous. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
I'm waiting for everybody to send in the checks. I have to go visit them. Otherwise, they don't come. They don't give me. Aye. All right, mitzvah.
Okay, well, it's good to have you back. My Wi-Fi is a little. Am I blanking in and out, or am I? No.
No, you've been fine.
Because I know the router in this room is schwach. Oh, Gershon is on. Gershon's on. We could start the daf. There we go. Okay, Zok the Gemara from the 2 dots on Nun Zayin number base. The first half of tonight's daf is more interesting. The second half, for all those that are in business, should have a good time with it. All right. Anybody that knows how to make these calculations, it's really something. Okay, so Naflu Lagina Venenis. So we said that if an animal falls into a garden and he benefits from it, it pays for what it's mashenenes. Amar Rav. So Rav said, B'nechbeda. What it's talking about is where it got hit by. It's a little hard to understand the terminologies of this Gemara here, but B'nechbeda means where the animal hit the vegetables. Meaning,
so hit a small ox, hit a watermelon, he got hurt, banged its head.
Oh, but it would have got hurt a lot more if not for the watermelon. That's what it's saying. Meaning, it would have got hurt a lot more if not for the watermelon. It crushed the watermelon, obviously, right? And then, so Memela, it's nenes. It pays what it benefited from, because that's what the Gemara thinks in the Havamina. We're saying that, what do you mean when you pay for what you benefited? Which means that the person that got damaged is losing money, right? Meaning you have to make a cheshbon. How much was it worth to the animal or to the owner of the animal that the watermelon broke its fall? And that's what he pays, right? So the Gemara asks, but let's say you would have eaten the watermelon. Are you saying that if then even it's not going to pay anything? Meaning what it has to pay for what it damaged, if it has to pay for what it benefited from, is because it fell on there, right? But if it ate, it doesn't have to pay anything. How could that be? It ate, so it can't be. So Lema Rav Tamei. So no, Rav is going according to his reasoning. Dama Rav, which we had a few blot ago. The animal should not have eaten. Meaning, the way. Okay, the Gemara is going to ask a kasha that's pashut on this teretz. It's even hard to explain what the teretz is because the kasha is so obvious that's on it. The animal shouldn't have eaten. Okay, so if it shouldn't have eaten, so then you should pay the damage, right? Why is your animal eating from this guy's yard that it fell into? Right. So what it means is that the animal shouldn't have eaten, which the Gemara is saying means that the animal's acting on its own. No owner is going to want the animal to eat it, right? So since it did eat it, it ate it on its own accord. Mamela, the owner, is potter. That's what the Gemara seems to say right now. Again, the animal, who asked the animal to eat it? Shouldn't have eaten it. It did eat it. Avad, it ate it. That's on its own. So therefore, the owner doesn't have to pay. So it's very, yeah.
The whole Masechta, you don't want your animals to go goring other animals.
Right. Exactly. Well, so the Gemara doesn't ask that question exactly, but a similar question. The Gemara says, Amar Hachi, Amar Amri, Hachi Hashta. One second. When did Rav say that the animal shouldn't have eaten? Somewhere where the animal got damaged. The Matzah Mari the Peri, the fruit owner could tell the animal owner, Loi Mishalam, I'm not paying you. Your animal shouldn't eat, right? That's the normal case. An animal comes into my field, overeats on the vegetables, dies, and you want to pay because you want me to pay because my vegetables damaged you. I'm going to tell you. Why was your animal eating my vegetables, right? That's what we say it. Lazuke hi achrini. But when your animal goes and damages somebody else, the patira l'shlume, where you're potter to pay, me Omar, do we say this? Right? We definitely don't say this. Right? You only say it in order to pater the person whose vegetables damage the animal. You don't say this rule for the guy with the animal to damage the vegetables. Right?
Even though we kind of do. By Shmira, we said 2 blocks ago. It says ubir b'steyacher ad da'avad ke'en ubir. The owner has to actually send it or want it to go eat. Shh. Why can't he say that here? I didn't want it to eat. That's not ubir b'steyacher.
What do you mean?
2 blocks ago, we said that the Shmira is lessened by Shein Rego. Because ad da'avid ke'en v'shilach, ad da'avid ke'en ubir. Until the owner has to actually make it do it, so to speak.
Right.
Well, here, why can't he say? I didn't want it to eat. I didn't send it.
No, but here, when I said here, we're trying to say that
it fell in. It was nafla legina. It fell into a gina. That's not a pshia of the owner in any way. He didn't send it in. So the same way, why can't we say I didn't want it to eat? This is not my pshia.
What do you mean? But it is. It's your animal. You're responsible for your animal.
To a
Either
certain
way,
extent.
but it doesn't fall under the category of it shouldn't have eaten. You want to say that maybe I shouldn't pay because it fell in and that's fine, but not because it shouldn't have eaten.
Is it not the same thing to say I didn't want it to eat? I didn't send it in to eat?
No, the Gemara is asking another case. Well, let's make it simple. A guy puts poison down in front of the animal, right? Who asked your animal to eat the poison? Right? That's the standard case. Your animal went and ate the poison. Good, I'm not getting the tzaddik of the year award for putting poison near your animal, but at the end of the day, control your animal. We don't say it the other way around, where the guy says, oh, my animal ate your vegetables? I'm sorry. My animal shouldn't have eaten. And therefore, I'm potter. What? Your animal did eat. Right? Okay, but that's the time. Now, Ella, so what did it mean? On Talmud Aleph now?
In other words, we're saying the animal's chayiv. Yeah, so cut off the leg of one animal, cut off his foot.
Right, but Elam, right, that's not going to do anybody anything. So then the owner has to pay. Right, that's what it's saying. The owner has to pay. Right, Ella, on Talmud Aleph, lomi by kamar. What it's saying is a lomi by achla. Goes without saying that if it ate the mishalem mashanenis avada, if the animal fell into somebody's field and it ate all these vegetables, it has to pay what it benefited from. Doesn't have to pay the damages, but it has to pay what it benefited from. Right, which is sort of, that's because what you're saying, Gershon. Doesn't have to pay the full damages, has to pay how much it benefited from these fruits, from these vegetables. Right, but if it fell and memela, the vegetables saved it because it softened the blow, maybe it goes under the category of chasing a lion away from your friend's belongings, which is a rule. And let's say somebody loses money. Well, we're going to see the exact parameters in a minute. But the basic thing is like this, that no good deed goes unpunished. This is, right? If you chased a lion away from your friend's field, and for some reason you lost out on a good business deal because you were, let's go keep it like that. You're about to do a business deal. You see a lion going into your friend's field, going to eat all his animals. So you drop the business deal and you run and chase that lion away. By the time you get back, somebody else took the business deal from you. The guy cannot. You could have no tightness on the guy. Why? Because you were doing a mitzvah of mavriyach hari. You're chasing the lion away. from the nechasim of your friend. Right? So Mamela, you would think, so if an animal falls into my reshus and my vegetables soften the blow so that it doesn't get so injured, so I did a mitzvah. So Mamela, I did a mitzvah, I don't get paid anything. So then Mamela, since I did a chesed, I shouldn't get paid at all. Kamma shvalan, Rav teaches us that no, you will get paid. Right? Rav's teaching you that you're going to get paid because it's, well, why taka? Why are you getting paid? So why taka? You did a chesed. Why are you getting paid? Right? So Gemara says taka. Why are you getting paid? So then the Gemara says two yisoidis. Chasing your lion away from your friend's property. You're doing that voluntarily. You consciously stopped your business deal voluntarily to go chase this guy's lion away. Okay, so you did that voluntarily. Here, you didn't ask for this. You didn't say, "Oh, your animal's falling in my yard. Let me pile up some watermelons to make sure that your animal doesn't fall." Had you done that, your taka wouldn't be eligible to get paid. But he didn't do that while he was sleeping. This animal fell into his yard. Happens to be that his vegetables cushioned the fall. That's one. Then highlight and highlight midaita. This is not midas again. Ve'machanami wasn't maybe taka. So when answer that chasing a lion away from the nechasim of your friend is considered midas. Highlight midaita. This is not midaita. Inami or mavriyah harim nichse chaver less like say the.
So if his ever did it, would he get paid for it?
If his ever did it.
Yeah. And he lost out because his Evan did it. Whatever the hechatimsa would be.
I don't know, Taka. His Evan did it. I don't know. He has a good Evan. He has a good Evan. Taka, I don't know. His Evan did it. Don't know. Okay, very good. Say that. Another thing is that when you chase the lion away, there's no loss. Hi. If your
son a cotton who doesn't have mitzvahs yet, he helps somebody's baby and he tears his suit, but his baby doesn't get bit by this shah. So your son who's 11 saved somebody's babies and he tore his suit while he was doing it. He has no mitzvahs yet.
Oh, so okay, that would be a very maybe and a chanami. So you see this big Taisvis. Should we do it? Naftali, we do the Taisvis. This happens to be. I can't say I learned the whole Taisvis, but I looked through a little bit.
Usually the big ones are easier.
It is.
Normally parrots, not parrot. Yeah, parrots normally pipes up over here and says, Gemara only one.
Anyway, it's Rachamim will miss out with the bar if we do the Taisvis. Otherwise, we would do it. Yeah, so this is a kishma. It happens to be a little bit of Taisvis. One second, just to finish the Gemara. So again, he says inami or mavriyah harim inifsei chaverim less lepseida. It has no loss. Ha is lepseida. Here he had a loss. Meaning, so since it had a loss, so then you're allowed to. So he's allowed to get paid for it, right? Which l'chayra flies in the whole face of this mavriyah hari. Didn't we just say what's the same? What is according to the second shot? What do you mean? What is mavriyah hari if you didn't take a loss?
Right.
So that's part of what Taisus is saying. So Taisus, the first thing Taisus says is that these are not two different terutzim. They go together. Meaning, in order to have a case of mavriyah hari, you have to have both. Because inami normally means or different shot, right? Means you have to have both in order to qualify for this. Right? Meaning you have the heter of mavriyah hari, and the guy's not going to get paid unless you have both situations. Now, just one interesting thing in the Taisus, if you look at the widest lines of the Taisus, 3 wide lines down, it says, "V'nira l'ri, the mavriyah hari she'ena noito schar," by chasing a lion away that you don't get schar. Hainu k'she'ena dover boror she'yaveli they have said. it's not clear whether you're going to take a loss. The line was far away. You don't know if the lion's going to come. You see it from a distance, and you decide to be a real good Samaritan and say, I'm going to be proactive. And he only saved it from fear and pachad. But if you see 100% it's going to come to a loss, or the Ari is going to trample on things. Or you save it from the Ari, meaning the Ari already has it, and you get it out of the Ari's hands or whatever. Right? Meaning then there you can for sure ask for payment for your services rendered. Right? Meaning again, Mabriach Ari is that you're a good Samaritan. Right?
Too bad not a Hatzalah guys, and we only have one Shimrim guy on.
Yeah. Where is Jesse Tucker? Right. I thought you were going, Peretz, that how could Hatzalah charge insurance?
That I didn't want to get too much. We were doing Taisis.
Yeah, that's but anyways, what Mavriach Hari means is that you can't charge for your good Samaritan, for your chesed, because that's a mitzvah for you to do. As the Gemara says, that's only if you did it voluntarily, right? And if you didn't have a loss. But losses you're allowed to get paid for, right? That's the way the Gemara says it, right? So it comes out the Mavriach Hari is only like you want to charge for your services, which you can't do. But Taisa says, but you even that you could charge for your services if you for sure prevented a loss. Then you could charge for your services. It's only when you were mesupik about it, right? Then you can. Okay. Anyways, that's part of the Taisis. At least we Yaitse doing some of it. Okay,
what about the second Taisis on the block?
We're not up to there yet.
Okay. That one we can do.
Maybe. It's not. It's a little misleading. It's not. It's only a one-line Taisis, but look how big the line is. We like to do the one-line Taisis when they're on the side of the top. Yeah. Okay. So Gemara says, Heichi Nafal. How did this animal fall? Right? Meaning, if the animal fell because you were irresponsible, so why don't you have to pay? Again, we're talking about a case where the animal fell into a guy's yard and he doesn't have to pay. Right? So we're saying he doesn't have to pay. That's because he it was like an inus. So what's an inus? It slipped on its own urine, right? So Mamela, that's considered an inus, and there's nothing that the owner could do about that. Rava Amar Chaverta, it didn't fall in. Another animal came and pushed it. So how's he supposed to know that the animal's supposed to? How is he supposed to protect against that? Fine. So the Gemara says manch. So again, we have two reasons how it was an inus that fell in. Either it slipped on its urine, or its friend pushed it in. So the one that says that the friend pushed it, right? If the one that pushed it is considered an inus and a kol shekain if it slipped on its urine, which is more of an inus. With the shita that says that it fell in there because it slipped on its urine, but if its friend pushed it, that's a pshia. And he has to pay what it damaged. Why? Why are you letting two animals walk side by side next to this guy's yard, and you know that animals are going to act up, and one is going to push another one? Right? You should have let it go one by one. Fine. Then we say, this that we said that you only pay what you benefited, that's when it fell in that. How do you say aruga in that row, bed, whatever, in that section, right? My aruga, but if then it went to another section of vegetables, then it has to pay what it damaged, because we're only saying the part that it only pays for what it benefited. That's where it fell. But if it went and moved into another section, then for sure it should then for sure he has to pay. No, even if it goes from one section to the other section, even the entire day, it's gonna only have to pay for what it benefited until it leaves the property and comes back with the das of the owner. Other than that, he's potter all the way around, as long as it stays in there. Now, what's a pshat? What's a pshat? Why? I mean, we understand that, okay, your animal fell ba'inus into a guy's yard. So an animal eats the few vegetables around that section, so you only pay what you benefited. Fine. But if it goes moseying around the guy's entire yard, he should be potter. Right? Right, so the pshat is because maybe the owner didn't want to go into the owner of the animal didn't want to go into the meiri, right? It doesn't maybe he doesn't want to go into this guy's rishus, right? He's afraid that if he goes running into this guy's rishus, maybe the guy will shoot him or something, right? So memela, he doesn't want to go in there, so he's going to be potter until he gets that animal out. Okay, so I'm going to don't say that it goes until it leaves ladas and comes back ladas. Once it goes out with the owner knowing about it, even if it comes back without the das of the animal, it's going to have to then he will he's still going to be chayiv. Right? My timer. What's the reason? Normally, meaning the pshat is because once the animal knows what yalfa means, once the animal learns that there's good food in this guy's property, we know that it's going to run back there, right? So meaning Rapapa is saying that even if the animal left, right, and then it went back into the guy's property, the owner is going to be chayiv because the owner should have known, like, I know my animal fell into my friend's rishus and ate some of his vegetables. So he should have been aware, but 1 second. He might go back there, the animal, because the animals like to go back with his food. Right? So therefore, he's going to be chayiv for not making sure that his animal is nowhere near this thing. Okay, fine. Right, so you're the kedarka v'zika mishalas mashazika, right? So if an animal goes into somebody's property in the regular derech, right, it just walks into the guy's yard and it damages. So then he has to pay the damage, right? Again, the previous Gemara was saying that he doesn't. If it falls in, so it's an einus, he doesn't have to pay damages. He just has to pay the amount that he benefited. Right, but here we're saying that if it went in by itself, then he has to pay what it damaged. Fine. So boy, Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah Nashali, you're the kedarka v'zika, but may lay the mahu. Let's say it went into the guy's property in a regular way. Then it decided to have a baby in the guy's yard. And then all the schmutz that comes out from having the baby ruined his vegetables. So then what's the din? Is he chayiv or not? So what's the shayla? I'll leave it to the mandomer. So according to the mandomer that says that when you're first a pesheya, right? We had this a couple of times. You have a guy that's a pesheya. He's negligent at first. He was irresponsible, and then it ended up being an einus. So he's chayiv, meaning you go what the beginning was, you go with the end. Meaning if the guy was irresponsible, but then the damage that happened had nothing to do with his irresponsibility, is he chayiv or not? So that's a machlokes. So according to what?
Parents invite somebody for kiddush, and the guy can't handle it, and he throws up all over the table, and he ruins the tablecloth and the food. Is he chayiv?
So I don't invite anybody, but let's say they came over.
Everybody got hanas watching him throw up.
Okay, let's say they
the other way around.
He came
If
over.
I heard, I tell you one thing, he wouldn't invite him back. That's for sure.
We understand that.
No, but so that's a good example, right? He invites the guy. Don't invite the guy again. But this time you invited the guy, and he ruined the tablecloth by Ichves, ripping it. He ripped it while he was cutting up the fish, Peretz's fish.
Sourdough, the sourdough.
He was cutting the sour, and he cut the tablecloth. Peretz was a pesheya for letting the guy in, because the guy drinks and he always ruins the house. But in the end, there was an inus, right? There you go. Okay. So that's we got there. Rabbi Stefanski's got nothing on our example.
What's the?
I thought we
was
were
checking
talking
to see
about.
as an example of that case. I'm not even bothered to looking. I'm really not.
I'm trying to figure out this animal having the cow having a baby, and then they have blood spots on the eggplant. Whether you got the eggplant, or the eggs have blood spots on them, the eggplants.
Very good, Taka Rachamim. You're gonna have to give shimush and blood spots.
What is the tchilas of Pshia over here?
He let the guy he let his animal run into the guy's rishus.
So what's the problem with that?
That's a pesheya. The owner of the animal is a pesheya. Then it went and had a baby.
He let him in?
He wasn't watching his animal. His animal broke into his neighbor's yard and started eating the vegetables. Fine. So that's a vada. He's chayiv because his animal broke into his neighbor's yard. Right? Then he went, or the animal broke into the yard and didn't eat any vegetables yet, and then it has a baby. And then having that baby went and destroyed who knows how many vegetables. Right? But that's an inus. You can't, I mean, the guy didn't set up.
What's the difference how it happens?
That's tchilas of Shiva Sayvan. That is the shiloh.
Why is it making a difference? If he wasn't allowed in any damage, he has to pay.
No, because if it damaged in a it's not a normal way to damage. So Mamelo, he would be potter.
What's the difference how the damage happens?
Because he's been
We have a concept called Chilasa Pshiv Saifa Ba'inus.
Let's say I let the guy into the fields. Let's say the animals walk. I let the guy into. I tell my neighbor, I have old vegetables. Let your animal come in, eat some vegetables. Malava malka gevald. So the animal goes there, and then the animal has a baby and destroys everything. Right? So can I tie on my friend for the damage? No, he's gonna say it's abnormal. Right? So be'etzim, that type of damage is part because it's abnormal. Right? Right, so that's what it is. So again, he's really potter out that, but since he was a peshe in the beginning, so then that's if you hold chayiv, so it's chayiv. So again, I'll leave it to mandamar tchilasa b'pshia v'sayva ba'aynes chayiv loyti boilos, no question, right? Kiti boilach, I'll leave it to mandamar tchilasa b'pshia v'sayva ba'aynes potter. According to the mandamar that says yitaka potter, even though you were negligent at the beginning, and then you were an aynes, right? So so what's the din? Mi amrina on kivan to tchilasa b'shia v'sayva ba'aynes potter. Do we say it's tchilasa b'shia ba'aynes? He's potter. I do mahacha kula b'pshia. He may be here. The entire thing, the guy's irresponsible. The keeping the kachazi, the kravel on the melon, since he saw that his baby is holding in the 9th month. I mean, his animal is holding in the 9th month. He should have watched the animal and he should have watched it properly to make sure. Meaning, he should have said, I better not let my animal into my neighbor's yard because he's this bat, not she might have a baby and it's going to really destroy everything. So that's the question. Meaning, was it totally irresponsible? So we say teku. It's an interesting din. The Chazon Ish is quoted as saying, I don't think it's written in the Chazon Ish, but the Chazon Ish is quoted as saying that when a woman's in the 9th month, she should really, or at least, I don't know if it says the 9th month, but the end, meaning she knows she's carved to have the baby, she should be within walking distance on Shabbos of the hospital. Like this, you can eliminate all the Chil Shabbos. Now, what's the most Chil Shabbos that happens? Driving to the hospital. So the Chazon Ish is quoted as saying, I never heard of anybody doing this, but that's what they say. He says lechatchila to do.
Taking a Tesla is it's a derabbanan now. It's a derabbanan now, right?
Yes, we actually discussed it today by the shir the Shabbos afternoon. We brought it up because somebody asked this to me on Friday. His wife's too, and he wants to know if he has a Tesla, if he still has to call a taxi or if he could just drive. I thought he could just drive. It's a derabanan. It's one derabanan. Maybe according to the Chazon Ish, it's a deraisa. But depending, if the wife is one of the wives just really adamant she doesn't want to be driven, so then for sure I would say the Tesla.
Why? The distance makes it more of an avera?
No, you don't. You can walk to the hospital.
You can walk.
Yeah, this is for Israeli women, Zev. This ain't for the Americans. This psak, I don't think, right?
Israeli contractions are less than
Yo,
non-Israeli
but
contractions.
Israelis is a different. It's a different breed. What should I tell you? It's a different breed. I certainly Israelis in the Chazon Ish's time. I think.
Kichaya Seina.
There's not worry about the Israeli women walking through someone's garden and then tripping and falling and ruining their plants.
I think he wouldn't have said they have to walk through a garden, Raham. I think he would have said they have to walk.
I'm saying
the most direct route.
But Shaykh's people's fields, is a woman in the 9th month allowed to fly? Is that considered a pshia against the seats of the airplane?
That's one. That's
Her water breaks and she slips in the water.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's people like this today. People do this.
I've never heard of people hold like this today. But people ask, they're giving birth over here in Long Island, and they want to know if they can go to a Shabbos Sheva Brachas in the 9th month in Lakewood. All right, so what's going to happen if you have to go to then you got to drive all the way from Lakewood to the thing. There are poskim that tell you could, but towards the end of the 9th month, and she's already feeling contractions, that would be irresponsible, like this Gemara is saying. That's totally irresponsible to do that, right? Especially if it's out of the tchum.
I'm saying once you get in the car, what's the difference? How far it is?
No, well, because every time the guy hits the gas, he's doing malacha for a year.
If it's a guy, what's the difference?
He's still doing the malacha for a year. He's doing malacha d'oraisa for a year.
What am I over? I'm not.
Over la'akum.
Amir Lakim is only the first time.
No, every time he hits the gas.
Every time he hits the gas, it's an Amir Lakim.
Zev, you're at a traffic light. The guy turns around to you and says, "Sir, should I hit the gas when it turns green, or should I stop here?" So he's not
asking me. He's driving. I'm saying
but
he's doing that for you.
One time Amir Lakim when he got in the car in Lakewood.
This is the commonest mistake in Amir Lakim. There's two parts: the malacha itself and the Amira. The malacha is by far the worst part of it.
Correct. Yes, he's doing the more and more malacha he's doing for you, the more isurim it is.
Tziyaka, you just want to say it's better to have Teslas. I know where you're going.
Hatzalah guys certainly. Hatzalah guys certainly.
Plugging it in when they come back from calls is better also?
No, there's not. What do you have to plug in for? You should have a couple of 100 miles on the thing. It should be plugged in before, right?
Well, you want to tell me that all the ambulances should be electric?
Yeah, I would think.
Was that Taka true?
You don't understand, Tiago. There are forces out there that Bedafka don't want it.
Why?
What do you mean? How should they?
I hear. Okay. What are you saying, Aaron?
Do you hold that a guy who wants to do the Dasvili should Taka get an electric car?
It's not my chiddush. I don't make anything up, but it seems like it. Yeah, 100%.
What did you say, Aaron?
What?
I'm saying that. Tell a guy that if he think he has to get a new car, he should get an electric car. According to Tziyaka saying.
Yeah, and it's not me that's saying it. I think it's pretty poshut. Even if you say that is a deraisa,
You're chipping in for it. Was it cost $20,000 more than a regular car?
It doesn't. That's the thing. It's cheaper.
Okay.
But it used to be more expensive.
Okay.
Amir Lakim was second each time the guy's driving. Really?
Yeah.
You know, Reb Zev, Tziyaka's going to take back his welcome. We missed you and happy to have you back soon.
Barrett, he was talking to me, not to you.
By the way, Barrett, I got to hand it to you. That was perfect.
Anyway, yes, but that's so that's there's another case that comes up pregnancy. I can't remember. Okay. Oh yeah. So then we do say, meaning on the flip side, we do say that the Yishuv Adas of the mother is very important, right? Meaning, let's say a woman's going to have a baby in St. John's, right? So does the husband have to go along with her? yes, or the husband can say, listen, I could jog to St. John's, probably get there faster than the taxi, right? So maybe I should jog there. And then the wife going, no, you don't do that because of Yishuv Adas. So you have to balance the Yishuv Adas, right? If the woman's going to not have Yishuv Adas by living in some strange apartment within walking distance of a hospital, so that also plays into it, right?
He should go with her in the car because otherwise they're going to go straight afterwards to the rabbi to get the get done.
Yeah, listen. Rabaran, did they let the man anywhere near the birthing room in your days?
No, men, but
No.
No.
See that, Gershon?
No way.
No, man weren't anywhere near it. You sit in the
No
waiting
way.
room. You sat in the waiting room, and they came and told you when you had a baby. Yes, that's the way it was.
What do you mean? Well, we got married.
Going to St. John's, Tchilasa Pshia, Seifa Pshia.
That could be.
When we got married, also was like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Not by me. By my kids. My oldest didn't was nothing like that. It was? Still by you?
South Nashville 33 years ago?
Yeah. Wow. I hear. Okay. Anyways.
I had a great story. When men do quickly, parents, I'll do it. Mendel was born. We were staying by my Schwen figure because she was very due. Like the Zaydish, we stayed in Brooklyn, not by Bethel, not by Brookdale, but so the water broke. Called the doctors to come in. So I didn't call the cab from the house because my Schwen figure at that time lived a quarter of a block from my Maimonides. We walked to my Maimonides. There's always cabs there, but there was no cab. So I went in and I said to the lady, she says, oh, you want to check in? My wife is popping. She says, no. I said, I just want to use your phone. I called the cab from the Maimonides waiting room to take us to Brookdale.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That in itself is a whole shiloh.
Right. Well, why did she have the right? Why shouldn't she have a Maimonides? Because the Yishuv Adas, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Also, Rabaran, in your days, the phone with the spin dial is a grumma anyway.
That's right. That's right. I dialed it with my toe.
I don't know what. Rabaran, I don't know what parents.
I dialed it with my right toe.
Rabaran, I don't know what parents drank today, man, but he's on a roll.
Well, parents, one thing you'll appreciate though, we went into they took her into the room, and I went to the Schillers. Martha's parents lived right near there. I knocked on the door and I said, Martha, leave me a bottle on the stairs. A bottle and so he said, left me a bottle and the Zionist on the stairs.
They don't have the babies nowadays the way they used to have them. What should I tell you? All right. Anyways, okay. Let's see Vita. So that was the easy part of the daf. Now we get into the calculation part. So Kate said Mishalem, top line, yeah? Top line no is Kate said Mishalem. How do you pay what you damage? So the Mishnah says that life would be easy if we went with Reb Shimon's shita, which is your animal damaged my fruit. Okay, so he damaged a pound of fruit. So you pay for a pound of fruit. Life will be good. But the Tanna Kamma decided that that's not the proper way to do it. What you have to do is you have to calculate a base saw. How much would it be worth? Let's say it would cost $1,000. Now you subtract, let's say you did 5% damage. So you subtract 5%, and that's how much the damage is worth, right? That's what he says in the Mishnah. How do you know that that's what you calculated? You go and you consume literally in another field. You evaluate it based on another field, meaning you don't evaluate it based on the damage it did to these vegetables or these fruit or whatever it is. You calculate it based on an entire field. But we know, so Gemara asks first, didn't we say that the pasuk ubir b'stei acher is coming to exclude if it damages in Rishus Harabim? We said, right, Shane and Regel is only chayiv if it's in a Rishus Hayachim, not Rishus Harabim. That's what we needed the pasuk for. So when it says answers, imken lichter rachmana ubir b'stei chavera. Einami stei acher. My b'stei acher. What does it mean? B'stei acher sheshaman al gav sadeh acher. That you evaluate it on somebody on a different field. So they're going to ask, also. So maybe the whole pasuk is that's what it's coming for. Lafugi Rishus Harabim Minolim. Meaning maybe that's what the entire pasuk is coming to tell us, that you have to evaluate the field based on the entire field. How do you know that it comes to exclude Rishus Harabim? So when I answer him, why doesn't the Torah write it by Tashlumin? Meitav Sadeo, Meitav Karmi, Yishana B'stei Acher. The best of his field and the best of his vineyard, he pays in the Stei Acher. Lumberly, the Kasser Rachmani Gabi Beer. Why? So meaning it should be by the payment section of the Psukim. Why does it have it by the damaging part of the pasuk? Mamino Tarti. So therefore, it's coming to teach us both. It's coming to teach us that the Shein and Regel is only in Rishus Harabim, and that the way you calculate it is with the entire field, not just specific to the vegetables that it ate. Okay, here we go. Now, Heichi Shaminon, how do you evaluate it? Meaning, how do you know how much the base saw is? I'm going to try and explain this to the best of my ability, which is not so great, right? So, Amar Rav Yossi B'Rachanina saw b'shishim saw. Now, I don't know where the Gemara gets the shishim from, because it seems like everybody's in agreement that it has to be 60. It must have something to do with kashrus gershon. I don't know exactly because bittul b'shishim, right? It's a similar concept, but I don't know where it gets to the 60 times. So basically, what it's saying is that it's a saw. We have to calculate the saw, the base saw, as if it's part of a field that's really 60 saw.
I think it's because a base core is a standard field.
Yes, so therefore
60 saw is a base core.
Yes, I'm saying, I mean, that 60 just happens to be?
Yeah.
Okay, but then all three sheetas are like that? I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure. Whatever it is, but let's get through the pshat here. Basically, what the Gemara is bothered by is if you say that it's a saw, it's just whatever damage it does to a saw. A saw is a very small field. And this actually plays into the economics with what we all complain about how much the grocery stores charge, right? The way Rashi explains it, he's saying if you're just going to calculate how much of a field, how much percentage of a saw field, nobody buys a saw field, because only the poor people buy a saw field, because the rich people want to buy much bigger fields, right? So there's a market, meaning I think, I don't know if this is a good mashal or not, but in Far Rockaway, with the real estate, with all these people buying houses and knocking it down, it could be that a house that's a knockdown actually goes for more money than a house that's not a knockdown. Meaning somebody who redid his house 10 years ago may not fetch as much money, certainly in ratio, to a knockdown house, because people feel bad. They're not going to buy a big house that doesn't have to be knocked down to knock it down. It's already constructed. It's going to cost more money. But they're willing to pay more money for a beat-up house so that they can knock down the house easily. And that's meaning the houses that are somewhere in the middle, they might go for more money, right? You know what I'm saying? So basically, the point is that the poor people can only afford a certain size field. So therefore, the price of that certain size field is a lot more money. Same thing when you buy for wholesale, right? If somebody has a lot of money and he could buy a lot of product, he's going to get a cheaper price than the guy that has to pay retail because he can't afford to buy more, right? Right? Am I being clear? So Mamela, a small field of a saw is going to go in proportion for a lot more money than larger fields. So what's going to happen is that the guy is going to lose out. The damager is going to lose out because, again, let's say a base saw.
Why doesn't he just have to pay what he damaged? Why is it big complicated? Why do you have to have Rishonim and Tanoim doing this? Why don't you just have an actuary tell you he damaged 14 pounds of onions, they cost $3 a pound, he owes him $42.
That's because the problem is you have this diak in the pasuk of a biyat stay acher that you have to calculate it in relation to this thing.
I think it's also a svara. A wholesaler, a distributor, and a retailer will have completely different values to a bag of onions. To a wholesaler, a bag of onions is 20 cents. To the retailer, it's $5.
Who did he damage? He damaged the
Damaged the
farmer.
wholesaler.
How much does the farmer sell his tomatoes for?
But that's
Give
the other
farmer that amount of money. What?
But that's the problem. The farmer will sell his whole field of tomatoes for $100. 5 pounds
So
of
that's what
tomatoes
he
is not
damaged.
worth
So
anything.
give that to the farmer.
But that's
It
the
has
other.
no
Don't charge
value.
him. Don't charge him what Doma charges you for a tomato, $27 for a tomato. He didn't damage Doma's tomatoes. He damaged the farmer's tomatoes.
But that's exactly what we're saying. If the farmer would sell 100 pounds of tomatoes, what's the value of 5 pounds of tomatoes? Can I get 100 pounds? So now he's selling 95 pounds. What's the guy going to pay for it? He's going to pay $1 less. So that's what he owes, $1, not $5.
You understand the cash. I'm very happy for you. To make 0 sense to me. Make 0 cents. Pay for what you damage. What is the big deal? Big chachma. We don't have to be Jewish about everything to try to figure something out 47 ways. Oh, we want to show. Oh, we know Rav Kavega, so he's going to pay 17 times minus 23 times plus 6 times plus if we said Masha Baruch that night. Oh, now we know how much to pay. What?
No, but but that's Rabban. I think you're going in the other shita. The other shita in Hanami. You're right. But this shita holds for whatever reason based on the pasuk that you have to calculate it with the field. So now the problem is once we're calculating with the field, which I don't understand either, but that's the dig in the pasuk. Once you're calculating with the field, you have to use a right calculation. Meaning again,
you understand Reb Shimon? I don't understand Reb Shimon.
Oh, please, okay, just hold off on that, please, Gesh. I'm trying to understand the other sheet. Don't confuse me on the sheet I think I understand. Okay, all right. Whether I'm in an Olam Adinyan or not, but let me at least have that. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, okay, we'll stick to the other sheet. I don't have a So again, if you're gonna, we're basically saying that you don't calculate it how much the vegetables are worth that it destroyed. You have to calculate how much less the field is worth. Now, if you go with a field of a saw, like the Mishnah says, a saw field, because it's retail price, because you cut it up. Nobody really, meaning when you buy an apartment in a building, right? You're paying a lot more in ratio than if you buy the whole building, right? When you buy a whole building, if you split up each apartment, it's going to be worth, let's say, $1,000. But if you just buy one apartment, it's going to be $2,000. So is it fair to calculate by one building or one saw of field? Then it's going to end up, and then you're going to take away 5% of it because that's what it was damaged. It's going to end up costing the mazik a lot more money. If you do it in ratio to the building, then it's going to cost the mazik a lot less money. So that's all these three shitas are going to say, that you calculate it based on the entire a massive field, which he says is 60 times a saw, so it's 60 feet, 60. That's Rabbi Yezra Chanina. Rabbi Yana Yomar, Tirkov b'shishim tirkovim. It's a tirkov, which happens to be a half a saw. Right? So he really could have just said 30, but we're keeping with the 60 theme. Right? That Rahmanas on us, so we have at least we get to keep the 60. He says it's a little less. You don't have to go with that much. And Chizki Yomar, you go kelach b'shishim klachim. It goes whatever stalk. Let's say he ate 5 stalks of vegetable or fell on 5 stalks of vegetable. So you're going to multiply that times 60 and then split, find out how much it's worth, and then sell it. That's basically what it's saying. So essentially, again, it's saying you don't calculate it. Let's just for simplicity's sake, you don't calculate it on the retail, as a retail value. You calculate it more on a wholesale, even though that's not exactly the best muscle. But that's an easy way to understand it. So I mean, if there is an easy way to understand it. Fine, that's the hard part. Okay, so the meisvei, then we're asked the kasha from a brayso, if the animal ate the kavo, 2 kavo, ain't arm to shalom demand. You don't say you pay its worth. You look at it as if it's a small bed, and you evaluate how much that small bed would have been worth without part of it being eaten, and now how much it's worth with some of it being eaten, and you calculate it. My la b'fnei atzma. Don't you just calculate it by itself, and it's kash on all 3 opinions? Whereas in lai b'shishim, no, it means 60 times more. I'd love to see if there's a connection, just because I'm giving the kasher shir to the lady, so it's in my head, that's all. There's got to be a connection between shishim and kashrus and shishim with this. It's way above my brain capability with the neshama, with Ochad Tzadikim, understanding everything. It's not talking about my neshama, all right? So I don't know, but it's got to be a connection. Anyway.
Plus, isn't 600 the number that Rashi says is always an exaggeration?
Yeah. So I don't know if that. Yeah. Okay. Good.
We have other amounts. Shishim. We have Shishim by Nicholas Levakar Sachaila. He's Shishim. And Kashrus by Truma. We have other ratios. 1 out of 100. And in Maisa we have 1 out. We have 1 out of 48. There's different.
But those are added on midrabanan.
What?
Those are all midrabanan. Those are all added midrabanan.
Okay, fine, but you see the difference. So is Ekel B'Shishim. So when you start talking about kashrus, normally you would say bata baroiv. So we have this. It's much easier to explain, especially to women. There's the other times we have also ratios that are. I have to explain exactly where Shishin came from. I don't think so. We'll see if any ladies ask that question.
Yeah, whatever. It's a good. Whatever. It's an interesting muscle. Fine, Shishin. Good. Weiter. Torah. Ein sham and kav mipnei shemashpicha. We don't evaluate a kav because if it's just a kav, it's gonna help him gain. V'loy base core and not a base core because it makes him lose. Meaning, again, if you evaluate it with too small an area, so then he's gonna the one that got damaged is gonna make more money, and if it's too big an area, then it's gonna be less money. So my kamar. So what's he saying? Amar Papa kamar ein shaman kav b'shishim kav. You don't evaluate a kav with 60 kav nesham mashpiach mazik because it's going to help the mazik. V'loy kur b'shishim kurin nesham paigam mazik is going to ruin the mazik. Right? Meaning again, you have to with this shita. Right? It'll be easy to go Reb Shimon. I don't know the Reb Shimon that I understand. I don't know what Gershon understands, right? Or doesn't understand. Right, but that would be easy. But according to this shita, that it says that you have to calculate the whole field, you have to do it with a fine-tooth comb. Because if you do too big a field, then you're gonna be off on your damages. And if you do too small a field, you're also gonna be off on your damages. Fine. Shouldn't base core. It should be a core. Right? Meaning one is a measurement, one is a size. So the Gemara says, you don't evaluate a kav by itself, because then it's going to help the nizik. But like kav and base core, and you don't calculate a kav and a base core, because it ruins the nizik. You only calculate it with 60 times, meaning you always multiply times 60, and then evaluate how much the damage is. However that works. Should we do this next Gemara? It's a shtickle long. It's a shtickle long raya. Well, let's start it. So who gavra? So till now we're talking about an animal that did the damage. Now we're going to talk about a human doing the damage. Who gavra? The kates kashpa mechavre. He broke a palm tree from his friend. Also, look at the Reish Galusa. He came in front of the Reish Galusa, which is not the Jewish way to pasta, right? So Amar Lei, he said to him, right, meaning the Reish Galusa said to him, Didi Chazili, I saw the tree. Meaning, I guess I know, like he came to him and said, well, how much do I got to pay? Or do I have to pay? He says, I know. He says, I'm aware of it. I saw it, Utlasa, Talasa, Bakina, Havakaima. Said it was one of 3 palm trees that was standing. And these 3 palm trees together worth 100 zuz. Zil havle tlasa utlasa v'tilsa. Go pay him 33 and a third, right? Because there were 3 trees altogether worth 100, and you ruined one of them, so you pay a third. So Amar Gabi Reish Galusa the Dina the Barsa Lamali. He says, why do I have to go with the Reish Galusa's psak, who's going with the laws, right? The Persian law, which Rashi says she'ena din Torah, right? So also he says, okay, forget the Reish Galusa. Also, maybe
he's a Satmar fellow. Maybe he's a Satmar young man.
Oh yeah, Well, I was wondering, Taka, is that called going to Arkos?
I don't know, why would it be? I mean, the was is a Yid.
Yeah, but he's going with the Psak, the Goyish, it's not a Yiddish appointment. Okay, also look at Rav Nachman, Amrle B'Shishim. Rav Nachman said, no, you got to calculate like we said. You have to go with Shishim. Amrle Rava, Im Amru B'Niske Mamaynoi. Just because they said that din, that you have to do with Shishim, like we learned this whole daf, Yamru B'Niske Gufay, does that mean, that's talking about when your mama damages, meaning when your animal damages. But does that mean that when you damage, it's the same thing? Right? So Amrle Abaya, the Rava. So again, so Rava is saying, who says that you pay with this whole complicated thing when it's the person damaging? Maybe not. So Amrle Abaya, the Rava, B'Niske Gufay, my doctor. Well, why do you think that a person who damaged shouldn't calculate it that way? Titania, because we learned in the Rise of Mafir, if somebody destroys the vineyard of his friend when it was still smadar means that it's just starting to grow. So Ryan I said Kamma we look at it, how much was it worth before? But and how much it's going to be worth later. And then you have to pay. It doesn't say anything about calculating, take this vineyard and multiply it with the sun and multiply it times 60 and then do all these calculations. It doesn't say that. It just says pay for how much damage you did to the vineyard. Right? So, so the Gemara says, well, by behema, didn't we learn the same thing? That you can calculate this way? The Tanya Kitma Natia, if somebody, here we're talking about an animal now, an animal cut down somebody's Natia planting. Those that were Geyser Gzeirish in Yerushalayim said, Natia Bashnasa Shtei Kesef, if you ruined a tree that was 1 year old, you have to pay 2 kesef. Bashtei shanim, if it was a 2-year-old, arba kesef. Then you have to pay 4 kesef. Right? Ochla chaziz. Let's say it ate a new grain. We evaluated, but how much is left? Right? Meaning, wait till Rashi says, wait till the whole field is done, and then see, okay, how much damage did he cause to this field? How much was it worth? How much is it worth now? On Talmud Aleph now. That meaning there's a machlokes that way. And then Achla Smada, if he ate the grapes once they started to grow, so we look at it as if he actually ruined grapes that were ready to be harvested. And the Chachamim say, no, you see how much was it worth before and how much is it worth now. That's only where the animal ate the grapevine, the shoots of the grapevine, right? And the Yechuri Ta'enim is also the shoots of the Ta'enim, meaning like what grew before. If it actually eats the what do you call it, figs, or baisar, meaning before they're ripe, or the grapes before they're ripe, we look at it like they're about to be picked. Either way, what is the Gemara's right here? We learned here, you just say how much was it worth before and how much is it going to be worth later. But like a tani b'shishim, you see there's no shishim, and we're talking about animals. So what are you going to say? That the chachamim mean to calculate it using the shishim calculation. So to hear by the human, it's also going to be the shishim, meaning what basically we have a right here. I'm sorry, we went a little bit further, but basically Rava had said maybe there's a difference between humans damaging that you don't need shishim and animals damaging that you do need shishim. So then, so Abayas is back to Rava, who says, you see over here that there's a whole machlokes about how to calculate it, and it says kamahi yafa, kamahi yafa, fine. Meaning, how much is the field? Was it worth? How much is going to be worth? Doesn't say anything a word about shishim, right? Elamai, it must be because we know that it's referring to shishim. Shishim is a double pasha, and it doesn't say it. So maybe by the human one, it's also shishim. Right? So therefore, we have no raya either way that a human, right now at this point, we have no raya that a human will be any different than an animal. Okay, we'll stop here. Say Attila.
We're holding where we don't know the difference between a human and an animal.
Yeah, Rachamim, I don't know. Yes, there's a mussar to be had with that statement.
Or we're holding that you pay for loss. When we say you pay for damages, it has zero meaning. The damage that you pay for is what the guy lost. How much did the guy lose? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Well, we're trying, yeah. Well, we're not, yeah, according to that shita. Correct. Yeah. All right. Pay Gimel, yeah.
That was me. That was me. Sorry. Sorry, Tiago.
You knocked me off of everybody off.
No, just you. Just you.
Oh, all right. I wasn't
Are
going
you
to go.
trying to knock off the record?
Okay, Nocham.